Hi, I'm Marty Cohn, and welcome to episode 5 of Rotary Cares, a monthly show that tells you everything you want to know about Rotary International. Rotary is a global network of 1.2 million neighbors, friends, leaders, problem solvers that come together and make positive, lasting change in communities at home and abroad. Established over 110 years ago, Rotary now has over 35,000 clubs all over the world. Rotary's motto is service above self, and Rotarians adhere to the four-way test, an ethical guide for Rotarians to use for their personal and professional relationships. The test has been translated in over 100 languages. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? In Brattleboro, we have 2 Rotary clubs. The Brattleboro Rotary Club that meets every Thursday over lunch at the American Legion, and the Brattleboro Sunrise Rotary Club that meets every Wednesday over breakfast, also at the American Legion. Today, we are going to be discussing 2 important focus areas of Rotary International: Pure Water for the World and Polio Plus. Our guests are past District Governor Dennis McMann and Brattleboro Rotary Club long-standing members Dart Everett and Phil Steckler. Welcome, Dart and Phil.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marty.
Thanks for coming on the show. Now, just to give a sense of this, how long have you guys been involved with Rotary?
I joined in about 1981.
1981.
81.
So that's 37 years.
Yep.
And I became a member in the late 70s.
In the late, okay, even
40
long.
years.
Okay, and do you remember why did you join?
I had been a junior Rotarian in high school back in the dark ages, and always looked forward to settling down in a community where I could be a member of Rotary.
Wow, good.
And I had been asked to attend a luncheon at Rotary and was very impressed with the people who were leaders in this community. It was a diverse number of professions that were represented, and they were doing good in the world, and I figured this would be a good club to join.
Wow, it's great, and you've been very active in the club. In episode 3 of this show, we actually discussed the many international projects in which the Brattleboro Rotary Clubs have been involved, and notably the Brattleboro Rotary Club in its 68-year history, 68 years. Mm-hmm. One thing that kept coming up over and over again was the establishment of Pure Water for the World. How did it get started?
Well, it actually began with Jennifer Ambler and Peter Abel, who used to go to El Salvador, or I guess still do, for dental clinics and eye care of people. And on the way home, one time Peter read in the Rotary magazine about a water filter. This was kind of like one that you put on your rooftop to heat up water, but if you heat it up enough, of course, it pasteurizes it. And knew that people in many El Salvadoran villages didn't have good water. So a group of us got together, and our club bought 1 unit to see how it would work. And then we put together a program that was financed partly by us, partly by the district, and partly by the Rotary Foundation, which is, I think, the 2nd biggest foundation in the world. And we bought 10 units, and a group of 10 of us went down to install them in El Salvador in several different villages. The trouble was they required electricity. And so we went to Dartmouth. We started meeting regularly in 1991 every week. And several of us went to Dartmouth and met with some engineering students and the Tuck School and learned about slow sand filtration, which is a very old process of filtering water through sand. In fact, 20 years ago, there were a couple of 100 municipalities in New England that used sand filtration, and several still do. So we started using slow sand filtration. We found a much more receptive club to work with in Honduras, and we created the program jointly with this club in Honduras. and went there also to help them install and see what was going on. They were made out of concrete at the time. And then we got a brilliant new president, Ken Grable, who decided we should be making these out of plastic because hauling a 300-pound concrete filter up into the woods and villages was very difficult.
Sure.
So they set up making them out of plastic, and then it got bigger, and Phil was involved when it got bigger.
Now, just so we're clear, you actually went down there with the group. You
Yes.
were among the original water rats.
Correct. There were 4 of us, Phil Huber, Jesse Coram, Peter Abel, and me, and we met every Friday for 4 or 5 years, and then we started meeting at my house every evening with an expanded group of up to 15 of us.
So meanwhile, Phil, you're back in Brattleboro, and you're becoming president of the club, or you know, and you're watching all of this. How did it evolve from this project that we initiated at the Brattleboro Rotary Club, getting this grant, to Pure Water for the World? It's a separate organization now, right?
It's a separate organization. It's not a part of Rotary, but certainly many Rotarians participate in it. But as Dart was saying, the project became too big for us as a Rotary Club. So by bringing other Rotary clubs into it and ultimately hiring an executive director who's now out of Rutland and was a well-known Rotarian, it's a completely different type of organization that is growing, has a budget somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million a year, and it's provided about 750,000 people to date with pure water.
Now, so it started out, you said, in Honduras, right?
El Salvador.
El Salvador. And then it expanded to Honduras. And then
Haiti had an earthquake.
Ah.
And the need was there, and that's when the biggest move came. I want to add that we used to get grants. We would raise a little bit of money or find other clubs to raise money. That money would be matched by district money, and then Rotary International would match it. And after we had several of these $9,000 or $10,000 grants, we got a $275,000 grant, which really got us going.
Wow. And today, as we talked about, Pure Water for the World is a separate organization, has a separate board
of directors.
Board of directors. And what's it doing today? I mean, is it, you mentioned it's still providing these filters? Is it moving into other countries? What's it doing today?
Well, it's expanding. It's doing more than just installing filters and educating people and training and monitoring, which is absolutely an essential ingredient to making sure it's successful. But it's also coordinating itself with other groups and doing some of the training to help those groups provide pure water.
Now, when you say training, back when you started, it was a matter of, you were bringing these pumps in and showing people how to use these pumps. When you're talking about training, are we also talking about teaching people about, I don't know, hygiene or things like that?
Sanitation. I mean, there are over 1 million deaths a year that are attributable to lack of clean water. That's a lot of people. And it's more than just a health issue, it's also an economic issue. If a kid can't go to school because he's sick, or a parent can't go, that harms or detracts from the productivity of that individual. And also, if a kid can't go to school, it takes away from his learning process. So it's much more than just clean water. It's an economic development thing that, if it's done right, it's going to improve the lives of everybody.
But what it's also doing, it sounds like it's expanded to also be an educational organization, teaching people about how to properly wash your hands, how to use the water. I mean, it's one thing for you to provide the filters and provide the clean water. It's not, all right, now what do you do with that clean water?
A good example of that is early on, many of these people had to get their water from nearby streams or that were polluted. And they would have a plastic bucket, and they would go down and they would get the water, and then they would pour it into the filter, and then they would put the same dirty bucket under to catch the clean water.
Oh, geez.
So I mean, it had to be explained to them. They didn't know the basics of hygiene.
Wow.
So
Now, the folks that you met when you went down there as a water rat, do you still keep in touch with them? Do you know what's happened to those original?
So for the first one, well, we had to link with the Rotary Club in El Salvador and then Honduras and then Haiti to get Rotary International involved with matching funds. That was one of the rules.
Right.
So we had great support in El Salvador and then in Honduras. I don't know about Haiti, but yes, the clubs there worked with us, and we're still in contact with the guy from El Salvador that really helped us get off the ground.
Wow. Now, then you went on in the separate organization. Did you both serve on the board, or you both served on the board of it? And
well, wait, we created Pure Water for the World in our Brattleboro Rotary Club.
Right.
And since Rotary clubs, individual clubs, are not 501c3 tax-exempt organizations, we had to make Pure Water for the World a 501c3 so people could donate to us and get the deduction.
I gotcha.
So Rotary Club was a separate organization even when it was within the Brattleboro Rotary Club.
All right. So in terms of the money, where does Pure Water for the World get its money today?
Individual contributions are a significant amount, and people all over the world are giving to it. What's sort of interesting, and as Dart referred to, we cooperated with other Rotary clubs, and many of those people have gone down specifically to Honduras. They get involved, they get excited, they get their clubs excited, they give money. Some of these people who have gone down are now on the board of directors of the club. It's a spreading organization.
Fantastic. And if I wanted to give money to Pure Water for the World, how can I do that?
purewaterfortheworld.org.
purewaterfortheworld.org. And they have their own website, and it's probably a very robust website.
It is. And there's some films on it. People will get a much better idea of what Pure Water is by going to that website, seeing some of the testimonials, seeing the films, the productions that are on the site. It's pretty exciting.
Terrific. All right, last question for both of you. What is the best thing for you about being a Rotarian?
Oh, the fellowship and being involved in doing things like Pure Water for the World or other fundraisers that we have in the community.
Phil?
We're busy people. We're so focused on our own business. This gives us an opportunity with other people to do more good than we could do alone.
Fantastic. All right. Well, listen, guys, thanks for coming on the show, taking the time to be on the show. We'll be right back with our guest, District Governor Dennis McMann. And but first, we're going to hear a brief message from Rotary International. We'll be right back.
I'm here in a clinic in Accra, in Ghana, amongst the genius doctors, nurses, and health workers who are so transforming the lives of the people in this region with very simple medications and applications, from vaccines to bed nets. Wherever I go in doing my work, the Rotarians have been there before me. It is a very humbling thing to discover just exactly what putting service before yourself adds up to when you see it in practice on the field. When polio is finally eradicated, and you know it will be soon, you stand surely in the first chapter of that book. I admire the Rotary Club's interventions so much. They're well thought out and enacted. And so I thought nowhere better than right on the field to send you my very best and really offer thanks and gratitude to what you're all doing. From Bono in Accra, thanks again.
Welcome back to Rotary Cares, the monthly show that answers every possible question you could have about Rotary International. Our guest is past District Governor Dennis McMann. Welcome, District Governor.
Thank you.
So, just to begin, how long have you been involved with Rotary?
Well, compared to what you're used to interviewing, I'm a new guy. I've only been in Rotary 13 years.
13 years, all right. Well, that's pretty good. And why did you join?
Well, something I like to emphasize for all the other Rotarians is somebody asked me.
Okay, always a good read.
I was looking for an opportunity at the time to get involved with the community. And, you know, this was just perfect timing on his part. And it was an easy sell.
Great. And now, aside from being a past district governor, what else have you done in Rotary?
Well, like all past district governors, I had to spend a lot of time learning about Rotary. And certainly this club that I first joined started me off right. They said, you're going to be on the PR committee because we know you have those skills. And I said, would you introduce me to some of those people? He said, you're talking to him. Me.
And that's how it begins.
And that's how it begins.
All right, great.
But beyond just being the chair of the PR committee, after I'd been there a year, I was on the board of directors, and then, you know, vice president, president, treasurer for a couple of years. So there's lots of internal work that needs to be done. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, the same thing on the district side. I had an opportunity to work with the district governor at the time on, I never can remember the name of the hurricane.
Irene.
Nope, this
Sandy.
is a different one.
Sandy.
Nope, not that one either.
All right. So it was some hurricane.
Yeah, a hurricane in the Gulf Coast.
Katrina.
Katrina.
Okay.
Yeah, Katrina. And he asked the president of our club if he'd mind helping out, and the president said yes. And then he came to me and he said, I'm too busy, you got this.
Bingo. And that's how Rotary works.
Exactly.
Now, so the eradication of polio, that's a major focus of Rotary International. Do you know, how did that focus evolve?
Well, since I wasn't around at that time, I had to do a little bit of research to see. But
Okay.
it was fascinating to do so. Along about the 75th anniversary of Rotary, they started a program called 3H. And it was an interesting time because this 3H program was going to be outside the foundation. And it was going to be another thing to raise money and distribute money in greater quantities than any district or club could hope to do. It was a great idea. The people that were pushing it did a really fine job. And it was interesting to see they were also talking with WHO and other agencies. And they said, what is a right project to start with? He said, well, think about what we did with smallpox. You've got to find something that you can eradicate. And at that time, there were vaccines for polio, and polio was something. And the district governor of Haiti came out of the woodwork, not Haiti, the Philippines came out of the woodwork and said, we're desperate. They had the worst record for polio in the entire area.
Right.
So they went ahead and they did that. In the process of doing that, they had some people volunteer other vaccines, and it turned into a 10 million people vaccinated, and instantly the Philippines were polio-free.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, so how tell us about your involvement in this whole movement, in this whole project.
Well, my involvement is personal. I'm a polio survivor, and a very lucky polio survivor because I did not have the severe paralytic polio that many, many people do have. But I had enough to know what the continuing pain and the muscle damage and all of those things that go for the rest of your life are. And I also learned when I was young to pretend I didn't have it.
Oh.
Have you ever heard of bullying? That was just the perfect thing at that time. Mm-hmm. So once I got into Rotary, I said, oh, I can talk about this now. And what I have been doing mostly is beating the drum for Polio Plus. Raising donations, making substantial donations myself, because all of the management for that big program is done up in the sky in Evanston and beyond.
Right.
So I try to work it at the club level, is to make sure that we have our polio plus donations up and that the district does.
So we heard in the break. I mean, there's been a lot of money generated by Rotary. We also have a partnership with Bill Gates. The Bill Gates Foundation has given a lot of money. What's the do you know what's the status of the project today? How close are we?
Well, as you probably heard 1,000 times, in '88, there were 350,000 cases a year, and well, 350 million a year, and there now. And this is one of the things I wanted to go look at it.
Right.
Afghanistan, which is one of the countries that has the biggest problem, has had no new cases of wild polio virus this year. And the total number reported last year was 3.
Wow. So it went from 3 to 0. So that's pretty much wiped out in Afghanistan.
Yeah. Well, understand that it takes another 3 years to get certified.
Oh, I see. Right.
And there's measurement of soil for contamination and all that. So even if you go 3 years without it, there's more time that's spent on it.
Right.
Pakistan has a big problem.
Right.
And there were no new cases last week.
Wow.
But the total cases in 2017 were 8.
Wow.
So we're talking orders of magnitude difference.
Wow. So when we go around saying we're this close, we are literally this close.
But it's the toughest segment because there's nests of the virus in areas where they're not cooperative, where we send our people to do.
Right.
And to get a sense for that, my wife and I went to India to do one of those NIDs.
Oh, really?
It's absolutely incredible.
Now, what's an NID?
National Immunization Day.
Okay.
It's one of the paths they chose to do it. Just
right.
The weekend that Donna and I were in India, we gave the drops, because we're doing the drops now, to the total, I think, was 110 million children under 14.
Wow.
Now, I had a little more help. There were some people besides me.
Right. Oh, it wasn't just you. Okay, got it. All right.
But it's the most incredible thing you ever see. When a mother hands you, my wife had a 1-day-old baby, and you put those little drops in them, and then you look at the mother, you've never seen such gratitude in your life.
Wow.
It's a moving experience to do it.
Absolutely, I can imagine.
Yeah, yeah.
That's incredible. So, so you've been on the mission, the NID, and you've gotten to see firsthand the good work that's being done. Do we need more money? I mean, is it?
We need a huge amount of money. Everybody says you're so close. Why do you need so much? Because to finish the job is very expensive. We still have to immunize those same kids every year.
Wow.
Every year. We go back through and, do it all over again. And sometimes in between, if something pops up, we'll send an attack team out who will do a whole area because they found one case. So I think the last number I saw would be somewhere in the vicinity of 1.8 billion.
Wow.
That's with a B.
With a B.
Yes.
So we know that Bill and Melinda Gates are really behind this. Rotary International is clearly behind this. So do we work with other NGOs on this? Like you mentioned, the World Health Organization.
Yeah, as we work with everyone that's involved at a major degree in health and human services and things like that. Partnerships is the way to go. And we do this piece here, they do this piece here, and something we've started doing a couple of years ago is we get country support. And I think it was the last international convention. We're sitting in the audience listening, and they brought in different countries, and they had something like 1.5 billion contributed right there on the spot.
Wow. Wow.
Canada is one of our best friends, as we get money from all over the place. And then they provide people to do help with the projects and stuff. So this is not just a Rotary effort.
So, and in terms of making people aware of this project, I mean, what kind of ways that, you know, aside from a show like this and articles, what else can we do to make people aware of what Rotary is doing in this part of the world?
Well, one of the things we're trying to do, and this year's we're focusing on it, is in World Rotary Day, November 23rd, 24th. The whole year we're going to be building towards that for a week-long presentations on all the things, including Polio Plus, that we do. Along the way, we're gathering information from every club that we can get as to the projects they do, the money they raise, how many hours they put into doing the work, and how they spend that money. And if we look at the total amount for our district,
right,
you know, instead of 35,000 or 50,000 that the clubs talk about, we're talking about over $2 million.
Wow.
We're spending in the district, and 60 to 80% of that is spent locally.
Right.
Goes right back into the community where we get the donations from.
Right.
And we really have to get that message out, because, you know, if they know what Rotary is, you know, a bunch of old guys that get together for breakfast.
Right.
Now it's time to let them know, you know, and why we get together for breakfast.
All right. Last question for you. What is the best thing for you about being a Rotarian?
I'm absolutely delighted to do anything Rotarian, because I love working with Rotarians. Their attitude, their can-do, don't know the word no,
Right.
approach to life is what I wish for in 50 years of business.
Absolutely. Well, past District Governor, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show. I also want to thank our guests, Dart Everett and Phil Steckler, and a shout out to Sunrise Rotarian Kevin Yeager, who's doing all the magic behind the camera. I also like to thank BCTV and especially Roland Boyden for helping us bring this show to you. If you have any questions, concerns, or even ideas for future topics, send them to info@BrattleboroRotaryClub.org, info@BrattleboroRotaryClub.org. I'm Marty Cohn. Thanks for watching.